So my name's Tamara Winikoff. I'm the Executive Director of the National Association for the Visual Arts, NAVA. And the reason that we're talking today is because we're celebrating NAVA's 30th anniversary, and we're also launching a new national visual arts agenda for Australia. So it's a very exciting moment for us, both looking back over the achievements of the past and looking forward to trying to imagine what we would like to see happen over the next 30 years. So what NAVA's trying to achieve, its objective is to see visual culture as central to Australian life. And we have ideas about how that can be achieved. So in the first instance, what we're asking is that the arts budget should be doubled so that it would at least reach the same level as in New Zealand and Canada. And at the moment, Australia only contributes 0.08% of GDP, whereas in New Zealand it's more than double that. So we're saying if New Zealand can do it, surely we can do it. The second thing is that we want to see new legislation, status of the artist legislation, which sets the standards for both political and civil rights for artists and enshrines those in legislation, which provides a kind of honouring and respect and acknowledgement of the important role that artists play in Australia. We also want to see the visual arts absolutely integral at all levels of education, starting with expanding the scope of the national curriculum for schools so that every child has the opportunity to learn about the visual arts and to also practice, to find expression for their ideas. And we want to see, for people who want to choose the visual arts as a career, a seamless transition into higher education, either through TAFE or the university. And at the moment there's some challenge in that, whereas the government is committed to the idea of a national curriculum and the arts within that curriculum. We're seeing quite severe cuts to the funding in the TAFEs around the country and gradual decline of support for the art schools within the universities. So that if somebody wants to study the visual arts, to become a professional, their options are just incrementally decreasing, and the affordability of being able to take on that study is becoming more and more challenging. So education is a very, very critical aspect. We also want to see a representative commitment amongst politicians. So we're calling for 51% of politicians at all levels of government to have an expressed commitment to the arts. At the moment, most politicians will come into Parliament through their training in economics or the law or politics itself, and that's quite a narrow kind of form of representation of the interests of the community. We know, for example, that at least 1 in 5 people in the community are actively engaged in making, in the visual arts and in the craft sector. And many thousands of people go to visit galleries every year. So that interest should be both understood and celebrated by politicians, and the policies that facilitate both participation in and access to the visual arts need to be very robust. And at the moment that's not the case. We also want to see the opportunity for artists to be able to find work that uses their art skills, so that instead of them having to earn income from a variety of sources that are not arts related, we want to be able to enhance the opportunities for them to work both within their own field and in closely allied fields in order to generate enough income to have a sustainable career over their lifetimes. And at the moment, for example, one of the things we're trying to see happen is the payment of fees for artists who loan their work to public galleries or whose work is commissioned for show in public galleries, so that they are recompensed for the time that their work is being made available for the enjoyment by the community. We're also extremely concerned to see the hard-won gains of the last few years sustained and not eroded. We're quite worried about, for example, the resale royalty. So the resale royalty is, at the moment, it's been in practice for about 2.5 years, and it provides, when artists' work is resold in the secondary market, that 5% of the selling price goes back to the artist, so that over their lifetime they are rewarded for the accumulating value of their work as their reputations grow. The value that art and artists bring to the community is very profound. What artists do for us is explore meaning, the meaning of our existence, of our life, our purpose, and they articulate that back to us. So their enterprise is often very intellectually rigorous and also very skillful. So they find very poetic and skilled ways of communicating complex ideas to the community to engage us all in thinking about the things that matter. The other thing that they do is that they are exemplars of innovation and creativity. They're the people who are most skilled at having lateral ideas, being able to explore the unexplored, to find new ways of thinking and doing things. And that kind of creativity is going to be absolutely essential to Australia if we're going to move towards being an innovative and expressive and capable country, rather than a country that just digs stuff out of the earth and sells it. And that's the future that we have to aspire to. We can't last forever on what lies under our feet. We have to use our brains and our hands to make our own future. And this is what artists are the absolute exemplars of.